So another great influence on the novel is Gillian Flynn. I've read Gone Girl 3 times now, and Dark Places twice. Um, I read Sharp Objects, but I didn't care so much for it because it was a little Southern Gothic for my taste. But Gone Girl was really important because it's told in the voices of two characters um, in tandem, and that's what I'm trying to do with this new novel. So the second character is the older brother of Ro. If you listen to my first reading, um, he is back from a deployment in Afghanistan, and he's about 20, 21. Okay, here goes. So I get off the plane, and my baby sister, who looked like strawberry shortcake when I went away, is dressed like a voodoo doll, a scrofulous nest of dicks sprouting out her head, and my mom is, no joke, tweaking. Hands in her pockets, then out, then in, then out, thumbs dawdling involuntarily in circles, butt wiggling, jaw grinding, sweaty eyebrows. Oh, hey, this all over again. In the car on the way home, I picked out the dark glazes of familiar pine formations in the distance and tried to take relieved, worshipful breaths of cold, cold air. I knew all the natural opacities of this small town and even the names of the dogs in the chain link yards and the familiar visual cursive of sagging crisscross telephone lines. 15 months gone by, and the curbs still crumbling in the same curves on the same tattered, underfunded roads like a network of geographical stretch marks. Home. Homeland, but I couldn't feel that I was really there. Hearing this new weird Ro recount how bad fanfic on Facebook had made her relationship with Twilight turn all lovey-hatey, and describing a form of jewelry where you could run a chain from your eyebrow ring to your belly piercing. Some precious teeny bopper term like valance, but not. Then listening to Mom babble on about how glad she was to have me back and try to pump me full of every last scrap of gossip. My ex-girlfriend, for instance, getting arrested in the country club parking lot for going face down in the crotch of a married member of the Chamber of Commerce with her second baby, also not mine, most deaf, in a car seat next to him. And verbally running down practical sagas like only Mom can. Like everything she'd had done on the Liberty in the last 20 months, and who did it, and how much it cost. I couldn't give a crap which particular meth friend of hers had replaced the dome cover gasket when it was really burned out spark plugs or wrongly snipped a fuel injection line and why. So I tuned her out and rested my head on the glass. All I wanted was a milkshake, vanilla, and wet black pussy. Hershey's syrup on a tiny slip and slide, and another milkshake and a blunt and maybe some Eucerin and scope. Then I didn't want the milkshake or any of those things. It was strange. I just wanted out of the car. I wanted to bolt into the Black Hills and let my prone body sink into a silky, thick bed of Dakota soil and ask God to unmake me. Because one day your life is all car talk and Garrison Keeler, then one day next you're riding roughshod over the Mars-like terrain outside of Kandahar, watching the Empire crumple and dive into the sand like a smothered dinosaur. Picking shrapnel out of a service dog's abdomen, feeling for it with your fingers like fishing eggshell blindfolded out of yolk because the slick of blood is coming out so fast while the dog whines a sound you will never, ever be unconscious enough to be delivered from. Watching villagers gathering to pray in the scope of a rifle. The Pashto Pac-Man people, burkas waddling into green crosshairs, scuttling like beetles out of their dung-heap dwellings in sunset. Watching vultures huddle on mud hut roofs, hearing the sound of men marching, clamps in shackles, the cracking echo of gunfire in a valley becoming common as hiccups. Seeing a man biting down in pain on a helicopter strap, wincing against the grit you can never rinse out of your eyelashes or your teeth, particles of desert and membranes you didn't know you had, sucking canteen water with the flavor of cancer and hot, kicking scorpions out of shoes, shitting in holes and wiping with K-tape. K-tape, but no toilet paper. Random weird command chain oversights fuck with your head worse than jihadis. You lose track of days as easy as you would lose track of your position in the endless, monotonous Old Testament hellscape of indistinguishably hard, dry rock. Unscalable. You're like a wandering ant in the jawbone of an expired mastodon. A small part of you is always briefly glad for the fear and frenzy of combat or even the random trauma of an IUD, because at least it's not the existentially corrosive boredom that you just went through for 5 months. You hate yourself for that. After a bomb blast, my buddy's eyes started to bleed from his brain hemorrhaging behind. He was standing up and in the confusion, grinning to be alive in a swirl of dust, and he cried blood, and he was still standing and grinning for a few seconds, and a stream of blood dribbled over his young, white teeth. Ro turned in the front seat and looked back at me, and I flinched because for a split second I was truly afraid that if we made eye contact, all that, the evil, invisible weight of that other place would surge out of me onto her. Our house was a lean, white, austere farmhouse with a raised porch, between a trailer park and a smattering of McMansions not quite worthy of the term subdivision than farms. It was always important to me that the house was white because we lived at the bottom of a cliff where the hills descended to lake country, and the pine trees and the way the house was set could be especially gloomy. Isolated, with the porch lit up at night, it hiked itself against the inevitable race to the bottom, like a heron with a leg crooked over black calm water. Someday it would live in my memory like a sentimental diorama, an exhibit in the Museum of the Dead American Middle Class. We had never belonged there. It was the kind of residence about which you said, it has been in the family since, but not, well, my family. My parents had bought it just before my dad bailed when my mom was really a nurse, licensed and all. Financial overreach, a marital parachute designed to solve their problems via commitment, a fixer-upper in lieu of a third kid. It had a sort of antediluvian elegance, but it was falling apart. It was always falling apart, had always been falling apart, but it was all we had. That night, the lawn was uncut and the porch pillars weeded over, like we'd already been evicted, and the inside was barren. Mom had sold a lot of the furniture, and the electricity in half the house had blown, so she'd jury-rigged the rest with extension cords. Space heaters everywhere. I almost tripped over one, setting my duffel bag down. The kitchen was illumined with a clamp light, like painters use on the doorframe. It made the roaches extra glossy. The water in the basement reeked. Raw, unfinished business. A wet concrete smell rose up as high as the bedrooms. Dereliction of duty. The couch was still there, thank God. I plopped down and my hand landed on a coil of something lacy. I uncoiled it, and it was a bra. But I could tell it wasn't Mom's because the cups were heartbreakingly small. Rose snatched it away from me and ran, embarrassed, but faking territorial sibling anger, up the stairs. We had Wendy's and Velveeta for dinner, and I came back to civilian life over a bowl of chili and processed cheese.